Hiya. Well, this is a slightly different video. This is going to be a what is inside my real little girl's baby tin. Now, this is a tin of little bits that I collected from when she was a baby, just as reminders for her to look at when she's older if she wants to, and that I kept because they were the cutest things she had from when she was a tiny girl. So, I'll try and show you without being too wobbly. I will one day explain to you why I have wobbly hands and why I'm awake in pain, etc, etc. But I don't want to stop people subscribing to me with sympathy and all that kind of rubbish, so we won't go into those details just yet. Anyway, my daughter started off life very, very tiny. She was a 35-week gestation baby and she weighed 5 pound 2 at birth. So, she started off in premature clothing, of which I hardly had any because I was expecting an 8 pound baby that I had a booked section for at 38 weeks. So, anyway, that all changed, but luckily my mum had knitted a very tiny cardigan, so she did wear that an awful lot, my little girl, so I still have that. And my brother, bless him, rushed out to Mothercare and bought the very first size stuff, which were these tiny, tiny gloves with tiny, tiny chicks and things on, and this tiny, tiny matching t-shirt, vest with little animals, and this absolutely, and she looked so cute in this tiny hat. Now, I bet people are thinking, why did she put her reborns in these things? Now, I did think about putting my reborns in these things, but you know, these things are too precious, and they're Martha's, and ultimately, it's up to her what she wants to do with these things. She might want to use them for her own children, she might want to use them for, I don't know what you do with antique clothing, but whatever. One day it'll be antique, won't it? But, you know, they'll be hers one day, so. And there was a gorgeous little bib that went with that set, with a dot that says quack quack on it. And it's lined on the other side, and it is really small. I don't know if you can appreciate how small that bib is. And it had a baby grow that went with it, but I think I must have, because I had to lose loads of my baby clothes when I moved after my husband left me for the first time, but we won't go into that today either. And my mum knitted these beautiful little gloves that went with the cardigan, and they we used loads as well. She had 2 little pink mice that she really loved, and she also had this rattly rabbit that she liked a lot, so I saved that and put it in her tin. And she also had this squeaky cow that she liked. And I actually ended up nicknaming her Moo. She became Martha Moo. So, yeah. So she did end up with a few cow toys as a joke. This was a tiny, now they look massive on camera, this was a tiny pair of knickers, and in her first baby bounty photo that they do in hospitals in the UK, I don't know if they do them in America, but they do these baby bounty photos, she did wear this very, very pretty, it looks huge on here, it's very small, I think it was up to 7.5 pounds, but bearing in mind Martha was just over 5 pounds, it did swamp her. Oh, look, it needs cleaning. That's terrible. Oh, that just shows what a terrible mother I was, or how tired I was. I think the latter. And this absolutely beautiful, tiny weeny denim dress. And my mum had gone out and bought this before I'd found out I was expecting a girl. She actually bought it when I went for a 7-week scan, because I was so ill with hyperemesis, which is severe vomiting of pregnancy. And I wanted to go for an early scan. I went privately because we have 2 systems over here. We have the NHS and we have private healthcare. So I went for you don't get a scan here until you're 12 weeks normally. So I went for a private scan just to make sure I really was pregnant and to make sure I didn't have twins, because twins really run in our family a lot. And yes, of course I was pregnant, and luckily not luckily. Fortunately for me, it wasn't twins, because I wouldn't have coped on my own with twins. Well, I mean, I probably would have. I would have God would have given me the resources to cope with that. But Martha, as it was, turned out to have disability, and how I would have managed 2 children at that time, I don't know. Anyway, moving on from that, she then had this gorgeous little, I mean, I know it looks boyish, but I did put Martha in bright colours because I don't believe in all this pink is for girls, blue is for boys business. So you will see my reborns in some funny colours at times as well. And I bought it because it had this turtle on it, and I do like turtles and tortoises and stuff. So those were the things that she started off with. Now then, Martha started losing a lot of weight, and she went down to less than £4.9. So then she ended up in these £3 baby things. And this is a £3 baby vest. I don't know if you can really appreciate the size of that. That's really small. It sure was. And I tell you, when I went to take her back into hospital to be admitted because she'd lost so much weight, she lost 10% of her body weight. And I was standing there holding her on my shoulder, and this old lady came up to me and she said, is that a real baby? And I went, yeah. And she went, oh, it looks like a doll. Now, these days with my reborns, that would have been funny. But when it was my real baby, I was really offended. Anyway, there you go. And then she had these tiny weeny socks, but because they had wide tops, they used to fall off. And this is just the smallest baby grow that you could get at the time in mother care. And it's a £3 one, and it was all Velcro, and the Velcro was a godsend because when she was in Skaboo, as she wasn't in Skaboo for very much, but she went in for blood testing and stuff, it was really easy for them to use. So that was brilliant. They loved the Velcro stuff in there. And Mothercare do loads of preemie stuff now, but they did nothing, hardly anything when Martha was little. But luckily they had this preemie stuff on offer. I don't think they were selling much of it in those days. So eventually she did put on some weight, and then obviously she did come home. So then we moved up to, I think this is early baby. I'm not sure what age this, size, weight this was, but that also was very tiny. Both my preemie girls, I have actually tried that on them to see how big it actually was. They fit that, and they are both 14 centimetres long. 14 inches, sorry, 14 inches long. So that is how small a baby she was. Anyway, eventually she did grow a bit bigger, of course. Although she's still a very little girl. But then I'm only 5 foot and her dad's not massive, so. And this is a lovely t-shirt, and of course it has owls on it because my owl passion began a long time ago. Even before I started collecting them, I liked owls. Oh, can't pick that one up. And this hat, do you know, I absolutely adore this hat. It's a Jojo Maman Bébé hat, or however on earth you pronounce that French name. And I think I think it's newborn, you know. And she wore it when she was 6 months old. Is it newborn? I think it is. Because I have tried it on one of my reborns. Yes, newborn. And she wore it when she was 6 months old. Love her. Now, my brother, bless him, bought her 2 of these. And we used these a load. And these were from Baby Gap. And they were little tiny, like sleep sacks for little babies. With tiny poppers on there and a little embroidered teddy. I think we had a white one and a pink one. Pardon me, I used to use the pink one more because it was a bit easier with the colour and everything than the white one. I don't know what happened to the white one, but we kept the pink one. Those were lovely, and they're really soft. And then we have a tiny, tiny, tiny pair of trousers, like flares. Very cute. with a pocket and a love heart. And then we have a tiny, tiny pair of booties. That's how small they are. A tiny pair of flowery. Now, when I took her to a baby group, one woman said to me, "She looks like a premature teenager in Doc Martens," and I was really offended by that. So I said nothing and thought, I'm not going back there. So I didn't. And it was a long time before I went to a baby group again. Now, Martha didn't have this hat till she was about 9 months old, but I loved it, and she wore it until she grew out of it. And she also had a Christmas pudding hat like that, and another one, I can't remember what. And here we have one of her first size nappies. That was a Huggies when Martha was a baby. They were the Winnie the Pooh ones. And this isn't her first hospital band, because that one's in her baby book. But this is one from when she was readmitted, when she had feeding problems when she was about 2. It was round her ankle, which is why it's wider. And that was when she had a nasogastric tube in. Sadly, my poor little baby. And there's some other tiny socks that she had once. And finally, because she has cerebral palsy and hypermobility, this was my baby's first pair of special footwear. And they are made by Piedro. And they were size 1. Size 1. And they did just fit her. I think she was 10 or 11 months old when she got these. And as you can see, they're quite marked here and here because she bashed a lot on the back of supermarket trolleys like that. She thought that was really funny. She stood on chairs and things as well. But you can see the rest of the shoes are completely unmarked because she didn't walk. She didn't stand. Look, there's no marks on them. And she wore these for ages because, look, they're not scuffed, nothing. Because she didn't grow. She barely grew. I mean, obviously she did grow eventually, and then she got a pale pink laced pair, and then a pale blue laced pair, and blah blah blah. Anyway, this video is getting incredibly long, so I will tidy up. Bye bye.